Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the Finding It with Father podcast. I am your host, Father Jose Alvarez, and not just glad to welcome you to this episode, but very, very glad to wish you a very happy new year. All the best to you and your loved ones throughout this year. May you have much health, much joy, much peace, prosperity, many blessings, and certainly many new perspectives. And that's what we're here for, right? On this Finding It with Father podcast, we're always trying to help you find it, find new perspectives, find new life. Find the perspectives that discovering the presence of God, the presence of Jesus and everything and anything that is part of your life can bring you. That is what happens when we start recognizing God in our midst and whatever it is. It opens up our minds. It opens up our hearts. It opens up the possibilities in our life. It unleashes our freedom. And, boy, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to do this. We thank you for, having been with us. Those of you that have been watching us or tuning in, all along since we began this podcast back in October of last year. We've tackled, so many different topics, different realities. Some of them somewhat conventional. A lot of them really kind of off the beaten path, pretty unconventional ones. And it's been a lot of fun doing that, the guests that we've had. And listen, we'll keep doing it throughout the year. We look forward to journeying with you throughout this calendar year and tackling just about everything and anything. The sky's the limit because God is in everything, anywhere, all the time. He's there, trying to give us new life. And for this reason, as we always say, we invite you to subscribe to our channel so that you can be alerted when these episodes come out. Hit the like button if you like what we're doing. And, very importantly, keep sharing these. Hit that share button. Do one of those tick, 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 with people we want to get this out to as many people as possible because we want them to find new life. And very especially at the beginning of a new year, there's always hope. There's always a lot to look forward to. We also, of course, encourage you to consider becoming a sponsor. We thank all of our wonderful, wonderful sponsors. We've had a terrific, terrific response, a sponsorship response. And it's so important because the funding from sponsorship allows us to continue to be creative and to build up not just our place here and our operations here, but also our outreach. All of the funding goes to build up our reserves, and that enables us to, again, as I mentioned, continue being very proactive, very creative, having the resources to be able to do beautiful things, important things, relevant things, and to get them out. So we thank you for that. There's a variety of sponsorship packages. As we mention every week, you can become a supporting sponsor and sponsor a few episodes, or even better yet, you can become an elite presenting sponsor and sponsor part of our season or an entire, season of episodes. All you have to do is get in touch with Denise Roca, and she will meet you where you're at and customize what will make sense for you. So consider doing all that as we kick off this new year. And no pun intended, we're kicking off the new year with an episode that focuses on something that a lot of us like. If you happen to be a sports fan, if you happen to be a football fan, the month of January is football heaven because, we've got all of the college football championship games. We've got the NFL playoff games, about to begin soon enough, leading up to the Super Bowl. And, obviously I'm a big football fan. I'm a big sports fan, as many of you are. And today on the episode, we're going to interview someone who is, he's kind of in a league on his own, sorts. He's part of a very, very, very elite club, because this man is one of the very few people walking this planet who actually has, as I mentioned in the preview to this episode last time, who has 3 college football championship rings to go along with his 2 Super Bowl rings. How many people can say that? That's a very, very short list of people, yet we're going to interview him. And he's going to talk about certainly how football, a lifelong of football, has helped him find it, has helped him find a new life, new meaning, even helped him find the presence of God. And listen, there's so much that we can learn from sports of any kind. I've always, enjoyed sports. I played them when I was a kid growing up. I was an average athlete. So, eventually I got into coaching. I coached a lot of different sports. I was an athletic director, a high school athletic director for a while before becoming a priest. And, that'll get you ready for everything and anything in life. And I can tell you that, there are so many valuable lessons that we can learn from just engaging in the practice of a sport, whether you play it or you coach it. Great life lessons. And so we're gonna focus on that today, in particular, in this case, with football. And this person is that we're interviewing, our special guest today to kick off this new year. He's not a household name unless you know the guy. And if you know the guy, you're never going to forget him, because he is a character, a great man, heart of gold. I've known him for approximately 50 years because he was, when I was in high school, here locally at Immaculata LaSalle High School, he was the head football coach, Coach Carmen Grosso, originally from Pittsburgh. I have no idea how he made his way down here, but I never played football in high school. It's kind of funny, because he would refer to those of us who didn't play football. Sometimes he would refer to us as scientists. And they would say, so and so. He says, yeah. He's a scientist. You're either a player or a scientist, pretty much. Major character, but listen, very talented man, and just through the years, I've known him. A great man, a great heart. Has whatever he commits himself to, I can tell you, he will give it 130%. And so we're blessed to have him on the show, and let's not waste any more time. Let's meet Coach Carmen Grosso and find out how he's found it in football. Coach Carmen Grosso, welcome to the Finding It with Father podcast. Thank you for joining us. And before anything, Happy New Year to you.
I thank you, and Happy New Year to you.
Thank you. I hope that your holidays were great, and I hope that the new year in just a few short days is being pretty good to you.
Very good. All positive.
That's good to hear. Well, something that's clearly been very, very good to you, actually has been great to you, has been football.
Football's been good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. When I previewed this episode, I said, and you got the hardware right here, right on the counter. Not too many people own this kind of hardware. You got 3 college football championship rings, 2 Super Bowl rings there. I hear there's a 6th ring from a high school.
Yes.
St. Thomas Aquinas, right?
St. Thomas Aquinas.
High school championship, state championship ring.
Yes, that's correct.
State ring, right?
State championship.
These 3 are UM. Those 2 are Dallas Cowboys. So I said some interesting things about you of our relationship going back to the high school, the high school days. But your whole coaching football. Where did that start? How did that come about in your life?
Well, to make a long story short, I played high school football.
Okay.
I'm from Pittsburgh. I went to South Catholic High School. I was the smallest kid on the team because at that time, most of the guys were going to Notre Dame or Michigan State.
What'd you play? What position?
Well, I'll tell you, since I was a guard. I was the littlest guy on the team.
Small guard.
Yes.
Okay.
And I was a linebacker.
All
In those days, you played both ways.
Right.
I graduated high school in 1962. Went to the University of Miami. Obviously.
I didn't know that.
I didn't play football. George Mara and Pete Banaszak, who's a friend of mine with the Oakland Raiders, and go on and on. But they were a good football team. But I went to the University of Miami, and after that I went into the military. I was a ROTC lieutenant. Went to Far East Asia. Was a signal officer, soldier. I played a little football in Okinawa. We had a team there of Green Berets.
All right.
And
that must have been interesting.
It was good.
There might have been some hard hits there.
It was a little different, but sports meant a lot to the soldiers.
Right.
They were either coming back from Vietnam or going to Vietnam. It was a sense of, hey, we're not at Three Rivers Stadium or Old Forbes Field in Pittsburgh, but it was competitive. We played the Marines for the championship. The Green Berets won. That's about all I can
that's all you remember anyway.
Right. So therefore, that's it, playing football. So to make a long story short, I got out of the military in 1969. The bad part about it is I was a physical education teacher degree, which meant nothing in those days. They were burning the draft cards all over in Pittsburgh. I went back home. I was there 6 months. I couldn't get a job. I went to these employment agencies that they had years ago that, if you get a job, they take their percentage. I had an interview, it just didn't work out. I didn't get the job. So to make a long story short, I left Pittsburgh and I ended up at LaSalle High School in Miami.
What year did you go to LaSalle?
I went to LaSalle in 1970. But it's very easy. It's very simple. The principal, Father Francis J. LaShare, hired me, who was my good friend. He said, "Do you want to coach football? And I need a PE teacher, physically. I need a coach." I said, "I'll be there." I didn't have a job.
Okay.
So I took the job.
That worked.
Therefore, that's where I started as an assistant football coach, and I worked there. Really, I didn't know football. I was never a coach. I tried to learn the game. I wanted to get better. I would watch Miami. I would go to practices.
Isn't that pretty much how all the coaches started?
Well, more or less. I would go to the conventions. The one thing about Father LaShare, my principal, I could go to the conventions, wherever it may be, the football convention, and he'd pay for everything.
Yeah.
So therefore, I tried to learn the game.
Good.
And obviously, it's not about LaSalle. It's not about Coach Rosto, but LaSalle was competitive.
Oh yeah. I was there.
You were there. You were an athletic director. We were competitive.
Later on, not
we were competitive, and basically, it was a great experience for me. Yeah. So I would have never met you if it wasn't for football.
Wow. So that's how it all. Right. That's how it all started. Now, how'd you wind up at UM. How does that story go?
Okay. Obviously, we all have goals and objectives. I learned that from the military. So, I guess I was single. I was motivated. I wanted to learn. I grew up in Pittsburgh with the Steelers, on and on. So this gentleman at Curley High School, his name is Arnie Romero. He's still alive. He sort of said, "Hey, I like you. You're at LaSalle. Come on over to Miami. I'll coach you up." So, he said, "This is what you got to do. This is what you got to do." And I got fired up. He came over one time. I don't know who we were playing, maybe Archbishop Curley. He said, "Look, this is what you got to do. And this is the team." They're all looking at it. And he comes in, he says, he was a defensive coach. "Do this, do that, do this, do that." So, he's more or less sponsored me. A year later, I became the volunteer at the University of Miami with Howard Schnellenberger.
Oh, okay. Oh, so you got in when Howard was.
I was a volunteer. I was a free coach.
Look at that.
I would teach at LaSalle, and I would go there. And then I sort of learned the game a little bit. And then from there, after the University of Miami, when Howard,
Jimmy came along, right?
Howard Schnellenberger came in. I worked for Howard Schnellenberger. I worked for Dennis Erickson and Jimmy Johnson. Okay. So
Right. Not bad company.
No, all tremendous individuals. Obviously, great football coaches.
Yeah.
National championship.
Yeah, that doesn't come easily.
To make a long story short,
And Jimmy took you to Dallas.
Jimmy was kind enough to take me to the Dallas Cowboys.
Right.
And that was it. So I had a good run. A lot of the former LaSalle players, they recognized me, and wherever they went.
You said to me when we spoke last week or recently enough that you said, "Well, listen, I was in the right place. I was at the right place at the right time." And while that may have been true, that's probably true for a lot of people. But I said to you, yeah, you can be at the right place at the right time, but if you don't cut the bacon, at that level, you're not going to be there for a very long time.
You have to bring something to the table. So therefore, Coach Schnellenberger won a national championship. Dennis Erickson won a national championship, and so did Jimmy Johnson. So therefore, you
had a good run.
Well, I contributed. They were fine coaches.
Yes.
And the players, they did a good job. And all of them are very nice citizens, whether it's Florida or wherever. I can name a whole list.
You still keep in touch with some of those guys.
I keep in touch with Bernie Kosar from Cleveland, Ohio. He was also at Dallas.
Good Catholic boy.
Yes, he is. Jim Kelly, a good Catholic boy.
There you go. Right.
I drop him a little note. He'll recognize me. Russell Maryland is a great guy. Michael Irving. I would sometimes go to the University of Miami. They would invite me for, the 30-year reunion and that. And, I'd see some Don Bailey, who's a pillar in the community.
Wow. You can name a few.
I was very fortunate.
That's for sure. Yes.
I was blessed.
Now let me ask you. When you look at your experience with football all those years, what did that teach you about life? I mean, how did football help you find greater meaning to life?
It's very simple. Everybody wants to win.
Yeah.
You're not going to win every game.
Right.
But,
unless you're in the 1972 Miami Dolphins.
That's true.
Only God in the 72
that's very
Dolphins
true.
are perfect. But
that's very true.
The rest of us are trying.
Don Strock, Bruce Hardy, I know those guys. I worked with them at FIU University, as a matter of fact.
I didn't mean to derail you there.
The point is you compete, you want to win.
Sure.
So, say what you want. It's hard to win every game, but the question is, it's like a fighter. If you're down, you got to get up, and you got to keep fighting.
Yeah.
I was fortunate at LaSalle, where I started football, as you're aware of. Not all those guys knew football. They came from Cuba.
Yeah.
And a lot of them were there in the 70s. Yeah. And they lived down the road here at the orphanage. And, you had to teach those guys.
Yeah, you're right.
You know how to play football, and they learned it. But basically, it's very simple. It's scientifically unproven. You can't measure a man's heart, and play with heart. Whatever. I mean, you can't fool kids. In other words, run off the field.
You think, because you're a man with you mentioned heart. Anybody that knows you, would very clearly speak about your heart. Because you have a great one. You really
I thank
do.
you for that. But
yes.
Remember,
but what I was going to get to is, you talk about heart. Boy, I mean, nobody has a greater heart than God.
No.
Did you ever feel while you were doing any of this that God was working through you, or God was working working on you?
The thing about it is, really, a lot of these young players that I had at LaSalle, they had nothing.
Yeah.
No parents.
Right.
I
remember some of those guys.
They had football.
Right.
And they had LaSalle High School.
Yeah.
And they had the teachers. Okay? They had Father Alvarez. They had Father Sheriff. They had Coach Parsons, another football coach. Sister Elizabeth was a teacher there.
Yeah.
I mean, LaSalle was just different in those times.
Yeah. Well, that was a while back.
We had one field.
Right.
Okay. As you're aware of, we had one locker room. I washed the clothes. I drove the bus.
Yeah. Right.
The cheerleaders who were, very successful in life, the kids in that, they painted a sign.
Right.
Pride and courage.
Right. Exactly. Right.
I mean, I didn't paint it. I didn't tell them to do it. I didn't tell them to visualize. That's Al Diaz and the players.
A lot of that stuff came from the heart back in those days.
Well, it came from the heart, but it's like anything else. We'd say Our Father before and Our Father after. And
well, the one thing I can tell you from the guys that I know that were around in my time, guys that played for you, and I know it's true of a lot of other alumni from the high school. My guess would be that it would probably hold true to some of the guys that played for you in some fashion and the rest of your coaching career and all that. There's just great, very, very fond memories of you, and much appreciation. Now you're about to retire, and I think you deserve that.
Right.
You better find something to do.
I'm
sure you will. You have enough.
God has a plan for Coach Costello. I hope so. There's no question.
Oh, we'll see. God is very creative.
I'm here with Father Alvarez. How can I?
Be careful what you ask for. He's so creative.
I'm here with Father Alvarez.
But Coach, it's just a delight to have you with us, and a real privilege to be
my
able
honor
to do
and pleasure
this with you. And I can tell you, I love this man very, very much. He's very loved by a lot of people. And as we break off today and we prepare for next week, here we are, new year, right? New perspectives. We're gonna introduce a segment that we'd like to run periodically next week. It'll be called Diving Deeper into Faith, or a deeper dive into faith, however we decide to call it. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna take some basic questions that people have about the faith, and I will try to answer those questions and give them a broader understanding of the truths that they're looking for. And the questions we're gonna take next week will be from some of our middle school students. So there ought to be some very interesting stuff there. You don't want to miss that. But we thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next week. In the meantime, and throughout this new year, keep finding it, keep trying to find life, keep trying to find God, Jesus, who's already there, trying to give you great meaning. We'll catch you next time.